The Queen of Soul, the late, great Aretha Franklin. Sunrise March 25th, 1942. Sunset August 16th, 2018. Since Aretha did not properly plan for her death, her $80 million estate has been in a multi-year litigation. I couldn't find out exactly where they are in the process. I know that the $8 million taxes and penalties from the IRS was paid in July of 2022, and now the remainder of her estate can be dispersed among the other people, other parties that were contesting for her estate. The three sons, her eldest, Clarence, who has some disabilities, and the other recipients of things she had outlined in these wills that were found. Today, I'm going to use the late, great Aretha Franklin as an example of why sunset planning is so important. First, rest in power, Queen. Love and respect to you. Hi, I'm Ebony. I'm a death doula, senior supporter, and caregiver advocate. I was a hospice nurse and an EEG technician reading brainwaves, and now I'm a consultant and speaker teaching people how to age and die better. And I'm your sunset doula. I know, nobody wants to talk about this stuff. Having these conversations is hard, but not having them is harder. If you had seen all of the examples that I will get around to telling you, many of them, I'm sure, of families falling apart fighting over this stuff, of chaos ensuing at a time where people need peace so they can start grieving. First of all, a disclaimer. I'm not a lawyer. Please go get the advice of an estate planner or family attorney in your state, because all of the states have different names for things. In some documents you're the testator, and in others you're a different name, and there's executors and agents, and to talk to someone in your state. Also, there are laws like the ladybird deeds that are here in Texas. If you have property and you want to smoothly transition that property from your possession into someone else's when you die, without it having to go through the probate process, you can fill out and submit a ladybird deed, which makes that transition a lot more seamless. Probate is the process of validating the will. And in most cases, it's a lengthy, expensive, unnecessary process when people plan properly. The problem is nobody wants to plan for it, but saying that death is hard and the conversations are hard and you don't want to think about it really isn't a good enough excuse. Planning for your end is one of the most considerate things that you can do for your family. It's going to give you peace of mind. It's going to give them peace of mind. It's going to eliminate any questions or doubts about what you want or what needs to happen when you die. We all need a sunset plan. We have to get past the fear and accept the truth and plan accordingly. Now, at first they thought that Miss Franklin didn't have a will at all. And then they started finding these drafts. They found a total of 4. 3 of them were holographic wills, meaning they were handwritten. And I couldn't tell if any of them had been signed. These wills made things more than a little bit confusing for everybody involved. And with an estate that size, I found that one of the attorneys who was representing a son of hers received over $300,000 in fees for 1 year of working this probate case, So while they're trying to untangle everything, while they're trying to determine who is really entitled to her estate, while the IRS was trying to figure out what their settlement was going to be, the lawyers in this case are bleeding them dry. And that's what happens regardless if you have an $80 million estate or not. If you don't outline where your stuff is going to go, then the state is going to decide on your behalf. And lawyers are going to get paid for showing up and talking about what to do with your stuff. Yeah, I didn't like the thought of that either. Okay, so I spoke briefly about terminology. So let's go over just two. A testator is a person who has made a will or given a legacy. An agent is a person who acts on the behalf of another person or group. These are two of the common terms that are used in a will. Now, a good will needs to include 7 things. I took notes. Number 1, you need a description of yourself. Number 2, you need a description, name, address, all of that good stuff of your executor, of the person that you're naming to be in charge of your estate. Number 3, you need a list of your beneficiaries. Number 4, you need to outline the distribution of your assets. It can be as simple as give all the kids 25%. Just clearly outline where you want what to go and to who. Number 5, you need to put in a will the instructions for the care of any minor children or dependents. Number 6, you need to appoint a caretaker for said minor children or dependents to care for them and their assets. And number 7, you need to ensure that it's signed in front of at least 2 people. And these days, I will video record it too. Leave no doubt. I call it sunset planning because I'm not only considering the documents that need to be collected for a good estate plan, and I'm not only considering the end of life celebration or options as far as different types of burials of what can be done with our humanly remains and ways that we can help our families and support them during that time by just planning and taking care of all of the things so that they don't have any decisions to make in that time. But I'm also thinking about, as a caregiver, when tragedy strikes and people become dependent, how can we outline a plan of how we want to be taken care of, where we want to be, and who we want to take care of us. Well, that's what sunset planning involves. It involves answering straightforward questions about how you want to spend your sunset phase of life. So you need to consider these 3 things. Where do you want to be if you can't take care of yourself? If something needs to be done to save your life, what kind of medical interventions do you want and what kind of medical interventions do you not want? And 3, who is going to make sure that your plan happens if you can't speak for yourself? I'm thinking about the whole thing. I'm thinking about how can we plan for the best outcome? How can we think about and plan for the best sunset stage so that we can set ourselves up for happy, healthy, long lives? A good plan involves outlining clear instructions and containing everything that your representatives are going to need to carry out your plan. Once you've gotten really clear about what you want and you've outlined everything, you need to notarize them, make it legal, and then you need to share it with your people. Your advocates need to know what's in it and they need to know where to find it in case of an emergency. Sunset planning can and should get very specific, as there are so many things to consider. So we're going to start with the basics, the basic 4 documents. Every single person should have, every adult should have these documents, and they're going to change as you age. You might change your mind about some things. You might change your mind about some people. People may die that you've made beneficiaries, things of that nature. So it's normal to have to revisit and update them often, and I would encourage you to do so at least every couple years. Number 1, you need a last will and testament or a living trust. The major difference between these two is that a last will and testament becomes effective when a testator dies, and a living trust is effective when you're still living. A living trust also offers better control and management of assets after your passing, to give beneficiaries a continuous cash flow, and typically protects assets from having to go through the lengthy probate process we've already talked about. Number 2, you need a living will or an advance directive. This is the document that outlines the medical interventions that you want and the medical interventions that you don't want, which is equally important. It's important that your advocates understand where these lines are for you so that they can show up and advocate for you in the best way possible. Number 3, you need a medical power of attorney or a healthcare proxy. This is the document that designates someone to make medical decisions on your behalf. When choosing this person, I want you to think really hard about a person who's going to be able to put your needs, your wishes above their own, because it's a hard thing to do and not everybody can. Number 4, you need a financial power of attorney. Now, this person is going to have all of the power over all of your finances, your businesses, your accounts. They'll be able to make deposits, withdrawals, cash your Social Security checks, as well as change your beneficiaries, order checks. The list goes on and on. Anything that has to do with your money, they will have the power. The financial power of attorney is a document that allows an agent to manage the business and financial affairs of the principal, such as signing checks, filing tax returns, mailing and depositing Social Security checks, and managing investment accounts. The agent must carry out the principal's wishes to the best of their ability, at least to the extent of what the agreement spells out as the agent's responsibility. These are just the basics, but these 4 documents alone will outline what you want done with your person and your assets when you die and before you die, if you can't speak for yourself. It also outlines where you want your stuff to go, to whom you want to have control. I know, talking about this stuff, thinking about it is hard. Most of you don't want to do it. But I'm telling you, not doing it is so detrimental to you and your family. We never know what's going to happen. We all need to just start making this a thing, a part of what we do as human beings. We've seen a few surprising deaths in 2022 where the person was not prepared because the person wasn't expecting to die. These excuses simply aren't good enough when putting together a sunset plan takes about as much effort as gathering documents to buy a house or a car. Sunset planning is an act of love, and because I love you, I've made you a gift. A free sunset planning checklist with the basic 4 plus much more. Go to the link tree and download it today. It's free. If you made it this far, give me a like and join the family. Hit that subscribe button and share it with someone who needs a plan too. We all do. With a plan and the right people, quality of life can remain high, and aging can be an adventure, not a problem. Until next time, peace.